time, so we lined up outside, like ladies at a ball. The woman in front of me had brown skin, and her black hair curled beneath her cap. Her baby was unsettled, making more noise than the others, and she bounced him with the unpractised air we all had. I wondered how many had their own mothers to show them how to swaddle, how to feed. I had thought about mine 50 times that day, more than I had in the past year. I used to feel her in the creak of the floorboards and the warmth of the bed, but not anymore. The room we had entered was papered green, with elegant white plaster piped below the ceiling. There were no flames in the fireplace, but it was warm and brightly lit with glowing lamps and pictures on the walls, framed in gold. A chandelier shivered at the centre. It was the finest room I had ever stood in, and it was crowded with people. I had thought we might be alone, perhaps with a fleet of nursemaids who carried off the babies that would stay, but a score of faces lined the walls, mostly women who were certainly not nursemaids, fanning themselves and smiling curiously. They were very well dressed and interesting to look at, and they were very interested in us. They might have climbed out of the paintings on the walls. Their necks flashed with jewels, and their hooped skirts bright as tulips. Their hair was pinned up high and cloudy with powder. There were half a dozen men scattered about too, silver-buckled and pot-bellied, not like Abe, with his drab coat like a bag of horse feed. The men appeared more stern, and many of them were eyeing the mulatto girl as though she were for sale. They held little glasses in their gloved hands, and I realised for them this was a party. I was still bleeding. Clara had been born before daylight that morning, and every part of me felt torn. I had not been her mother a day, yet I knew her as well as myself. The smell of her, the little patter of her heart that had beat inside me. Even before she was pulled from me, red and squealing, I'd known what she'd feel like and how heavy she would be in my arms. I hoped they would take her. And I hoped they wouldn't. I thought of Abe's lined face, his eyes on the floor, his calloused hands holding the door for me. He was the only father in the room. Most of the others were alone, but some had brought friends, sisters, mothers, who looked on miserably. Abe would not meet my eye, and had not spoken much on our slow, sad walk from where we lived at Black and White Court in the city. But his being there was as good as a hand on my shoulder. When he had reached for his coat at home and said it was time for us to leave, I had almost cried with relief. I had not thought he would come with me. A hush fell over the room as a man standing before the huge fireplace began to speak. His voice was as rich and thick as the carpet. I stared at the chandelier as he told us how they drew the lottery. That a white ball admitted a child, a black one did not, and a red one meant we had to wait for an admitted child to fail the medical examination. It took all my energy to listen.
"There are 20 white balls,"
the man was saying.
5 red and 10 black.
I shifted Clara at my breast. The swells at the edges of the room were looking on us more boldly now, wondering which of us would be lucky, which of us might leave our babies on the street to die. Who among us was unmarried? Who was a whore? A nurse began moving about the room with a cloth bag for us to reach inside. By the time she came to me, my heart was stomping around my chest in boots, and I held her indifferent gaze as I shifted.